As you can see, the weather is beautiful here, and we've made a little change since shooting our grouse and partridge this morning. The area we've come to now is a section of the 5-stand course. And the reason I've done that is we're going to use our lower tower. And what I'd like to do in this section is talk about how do we traverse from shooting a wide across the valley or over the hills into what we would call a ride or a logging track, where in actual fact the window of opportunity in which you have to shoot that bird reduces greatly. So as you know, most importantly, let's just reiterate, as we've done all through this morning, is do not spectate. An important thing to do is to start moving when you see the bird appear, the moment your eye focuses on it. Now again, this is where I reiterate once again how, if you can imagine, the instinctive method of shooting is going to be far more advantageous than the swing through system. We don't really have enough time, in my opinion, to shoot swing through. And I've been on shoots in the UK where the window in a ride is very, very limited, very small indeed. And in actual fact, half the time during the winter, you've got to look through the top of the branches of the trees to see the bird and start moving as soon as you see it, so that the moment the bird breaks that clear sky, your gun is already converged onto it and it's made contact. Now, one of the things that we need to do, and just once more, of course, as we've said all the way through this filming, when we do dry runs and towards the camera, of course the gun is always empty. Right, now I'm going to close the gun, and at the moment I'm a reasonable distance away from you. So I'm looking at the top of the camera, that's where I'm going to see the bird appear, and of course the gun is of course next to my right eye. Remember, we've got to compensate for that right to left draw off, and it's above where my eye's looking. So my eye's there, now my gun is advanced like my finger. So what I would do, I would see the bird. The moment the bird appears, I would of course bring the gun up. Now I'm going to go forward and I'm going to come towards you, which is reducing my window of opportunity, the amount of blue sky in which I've got to shoot the bird. Now, as I'm going to advance towards you, I'm slowly going to raise my gun up, and as you can see, I've also started to move that gun over. Remember, when we start shooting high birds, the higher the gun, the higher the elevation of the barrels, the higher the bird, the more that draw off right to left would be. So if I didn't do that, and if I got the gun here, as I lift the gun, of course, it would draw off to my left. Left-handers, of course, to your right. So what I've done is I've moved forward, I've raised my barrels, I've pushed that gun over to compensate for the draw. So as I see the bird, I can lift up, and of course the gun will come straight. So here we are. Now I'm really going to get a short window. In a sense, I'd be looking, say, up here. This is the top of the trees. Look where my gun is, up here, and it's open, and the moment I see that bird appear, my gun comes up onto it. It would be very difficult to do this. Look how much more time it takes. By the time I see the bird, if I mount there, then try and swing through it, the bird is already way over my head and beyond the trees behind me. So that's what we're going to demonstrate here, shooting a few targets. I'm going to walk closer to the point of launch. So in effect, as I move towards the tower, and it's lucky we've got trees around it and behind it, and what you'll see is I'm going to raise my gaze above the tree line. My barrel's going to come up, so I'm compensating for that shorter window. Okay, now what I'm going to do is, I'm not going to say pull, because you wouldn't do that on a shoot. I'm just going to say to Scott, ready, and then I'm just going to let Scott press the button and release the bird whenever he wants. I will respond to what I see, not the other way around. So we're going to try and make it, in a sense, as normal as we can. So once Scott sees me ready, I'm going to leave it up to him. He can throw it whenever he wants. Might be a second, might be 2 or 3. So let's see if we can hit this bird. So I'm going to start. So maybe now, remember, I've got my gun here. I'm looking, as you can see, through the aim cam. I'm looking above the trees, top of the trees in the blue sky. That's where I'm going to see the bird appear. And as you'll see, hopefully in the aim cam, the barrels are next to my right eye and they're just a little bit above where my eye is looking. So I'm now ready, and it's now down to whoever's on the button. So as you can see, it works very effectively. I'm going to go forward about maybe 3 and a bit yards. Let's have a go. That should be another good shot. Okay, so I'm now, obviously I've raised my gaze, I'm above the trees. I'm going to set my gun now just that little bit high. Remember, I've got to push the gun up to converge with the clay. I'm not going to get caught out and go that way. As I see it, I want to just push that gun up and converge onto it. Okay, so when the gentleman on the button, he knows I'm ready, he's just going to let one go when he wants. So again, all I did was I took my time. You see, there's no rush, there's no panic. I'm not diving into that bird. I start when I see it, but remember, it's convergence. I'm just pointing my finger in the sense of the barrel. As I see it, I'm converging up onto the bird. So by the time now, look, I'm getting there, and my natural move will just take the gun forward. Now, one of the things you'll notice is I'm not, again, as a swing through shooter, the tendency will be to come onto the bird, do that, swing on. So just converge and we're straight on it. So now let's close that window down even more. So I'm going to go forward another 2 or 3 paces. May not look a lot on the ground, but believe me, now my window of opportunity is reducing dramatically. So what I'm going to do, of course, I keeping my eye now on that, above that tree line where I see that bird first appear, but now my gun is going to come up and I'm going to open it a little bit more to that right. So again, as we see, bags of time. In actual fact, it is quite hard to resist that temptation to rush. But remember what I'm looking for, and again, if the trees are a little bit more bare and I was even closer, remember I'm looking through those trees, I would see the bird. The moment the bird, I see it with my eye, my hand starts slowly pushing up. Let's see how close we can get to the tree line. Now we're really pretty close to the trees. The window of opportunity above us is closed right down. Now, these trees are quite short. I mean, obviously, if you're going to be in a logging ride, the pines are going to be even taller. So just accentuate what we're doing. As long as your eye is at the top of the trees or where you see that bird appear, and remember, the gun must be up above your eye. There's no point in having that gun down there. You're always going to be behind the bird. So with your eyes looking, if it's a very small window, that gun almost needs to be vertical because you want to push it straight up. Now, there is a technique that you can use in this instant, and it will give you the ability to get even more movement backwards. Now, you saw that as I push my hand, watch my front left heel. Can you see what happens? I naturally want to lift my heel and it gives me that movement back. So imagine this, what I'm going to do, my gun now is going to be vertical. Now imagine I've got a piece of string or a bungee cord attached from my gun to my front left heel. Now as I see that bird, as I start the move, watch my heel. Now without moving my heel, I reckon I can get to about there, as you can see, before my muscles are strained. But watch, if I lift my heel, can you see how much more movement that gives me before I would potentially fall over? So, as you start that gun, lift the heel. Gives you that much bigger movement backward and up. That's the critical key, it's up. Okay, so I'm now looking, I'm in my logging ride, I'm looking above those trees, I know where that bird's coming, so now my gun is going to go almost vertical, but remember, I need to open that gun quite a bit to my right to compensate for that natural draw off to the left. And also, I am in this shot going to incorporate raising my left heel because it's going to seem the natural thing to do. Okay, so here we go. My gun is up. I'm going to hopefully break it before it gets over my head, and it's all now down to the beater to push the birds. Always remember, slow is smooth, smooth is fast. Obviously that heel coming up enabled me to get onto that bird. Actually, I'm going to tell you into a little secret. We shot two before that and I missed because I got in front. That's how effective this system is. And I had to slow down. I had to remind myself that I had the advantage of raising my heel, and I was able just to take it so slow, nice and easy. And by doing this, we take the speed out of the bird, we give ourselves much more time, and when you go into a ride or a very small window of opportunity to shoot, you know you have the skill and the technique to take any bird that comes over your head. As you can see, we've moved on to a different section of the area. What we've done is we wanted to try and recreate very typical in the UK or Europe, when you've got to shoot through the trees, you're in a narrow window opportunity, a logging ride or a woodcut track. So, and we want to really show how, firstly, that lifting that front foot is going to give you that extra movement to get up onto those birds. But also, I go back to this situation where you can't afford to spectate. You really don't have time to wait for the bird to clearly break in the sky before you start moving your gun. What I want you to do is we're going to look through the trees, and the moment my eye sees that bird through those branches, I'm going to start moving that gun so my gun actually can make contact with the bird as he breaks into the sky. Now, on many occasions, you need sometimes to shoot through the branches, that the window is going to be that small. So that's what we're going to look at here. Having said that, as we've come up here, it's reminded me to mention one very important thing. I still see so many pictures and so many videos, and let me just remind you that the gun is empty, of shooters in the field and their hand is really extended right up here on the forend. This is look, that's how far the hand is up. Now, hopefully you've seen the very first episode where we talk about the basics, and of course, really extending that front hand up there, what does it do? Of course, it extends the length of your stock. So it indicates two things. The chap who you see in the field who's got his hand up there, well, either his stock is far too short, because that's where his hand would feel comfortable, or else, if that stock is the right length, he's actually restricting his ability to maintain vertical height. And of course, as we've talked about before, it will pull the gun offline. So it's very important. In this sort of situation where the window is so small, that is really going to cost you birds. This is really, I mean, here you've got to have that hand in the right place, because you're going to have to really make that very big movement to get that bird over your head. So that's really it. And what I'd like you to do is, if I show you, but maybe if I can do this again, Scott has just reminded me, I must make sure you all know that. Right, so if I'm here, okay, and the other thing we talk about, and you'll hear me, I say open the gun. Remember, when you're shooting straight driven birds or birds coming at you, it's no good standing here. Remember, as a right-hander, my gun will mount and move across my body to my left. Now, of course, the higher the bird is, the bigger the movement, the more accentuated that pull is off. So where you might think you've missed it behind, in actual fact, you've missed it up the left-hand side. And of course, if you're a left-hander, the same will happen. That gun will travel across the body. That's very important. So firstly, I'm going to make sure my gun is open. Now also, my gun is going to be up here. That's where I'm going to see the bird. So my eye is here, but that's where my gun is, because that's where it's got to go, as we talk about. So the higher up the gun has to go, the further out I push to compensate for the draw off. Now, with my hand in this right position relative to the length of the stock on this gun, I can shoot a vertical bird very comfortably. And I hope you see that the gun came up straight. Now, if I firstly allow my gun to do that, the vertical bird, I'm going to miss it. But now watch. Now I've got the big hand too far forward. Okay, and this is what will happen. I just cannot get the gun up vertically. My vertical control is appalling. So when you see all these chaps out there, they've got their hand down here, either the stock is too short and that's where the hand will feel comfortable, or if the gun is, or stock is the right length on the gun, they're not going to be able to maintain vertical control. So it's really important that we talk about, we've come up here, we put those bits in, and that's what you need to look at. So remember now, we're going to go back. I've got a very small window in which to shoot. We're in a logging ride, and I want you to remember I'm going to use this, lifting this, my front foot, as I bring that gun up, to give me the ability to raise the gun beyond the vertical and make sure I can get that killing shot in. Let's have a go. Okay, right, I'm loaded. Let's have a go, see what we can do. So looking through the trees, my gun is in the right place hopefully, and the moment I see that bird, I'm going to start moving to converge. I'm going to participate, and I'm going to lift that heel at the same time to give me that big extra movement. Over. And very pleased with that one. Nice bird dead. What I'm going to do, I'll put a couple in, loaded each barrel. Scott's on the buttons now. He's just going to release. I'm just going to try and take these birds as they come. I'm going to obviously, hopefully we might get a pair or a brace, but let's have a go, see what we can do. So this is it now. I'm on my peg. I'm going to shoot whatever comes at me. Here's another one. Here's another one. And hopefully manage to pot the brace. There we go, chaps. Thanks.